In the African culture and religious sector, marriage is a must, the end game to adulthood. But not everyone agrees with this anymore. And I wonder if it's a good thing or a bad thing. And unfortunately, with the high rate of bad or unsuccessful marriages, it has become even more difficult to advocate for marriage. And ironically, I ask the question, why do a lot of people feel that they must get married? And do they even understand what it means to love their partner, or what love even looks like for themselves or their partner? But these are some of the many questions that I always ask myself. So I'm going to leave the expert, Tunji Babajide, our certified marriage and family therapist, to answer some of these questions. And with me, like I said, is Tunji. Tunji is a certified marriage and family therapist and founder of Optimize Coaching Services. As a marriage therapist, he has assisted hundreds of singles and couples in navigating difficult moments of conflict, distress, and unhealthy union. So I'm super excited to have him here with us today. Welcome, Tunji.
It's good to be here, Farron. Good.
I'm actually quite chuffed by this.
Such an honor and a privilege to be here.
Thank you for agreeing to be here. So my first question is, why is premarital counseling important for the success or failure of a marriage?
Okay, so premarital counseling is necessary for the success because he helps to do a couple of things. Number one, to help couples do an audit of where they're coming from. Number two, to help them to heal from whatever issues they found. Number three, to help them to build a system where they'll be able to make whatever it is that they have a dream to be supported by a system. However, I think that the most important question is who is having the counseling and what is the content of the counseling. You know, because there's a general perspective that, you know, counseling is counseling, and that's why a lot of marriages are not working. Because if we jump on the call and say counseling, it has different perspective. It's a symposium discussion. So I think beyond coming to the table to say, okay, is it necessary? I think we should ask who is qualified to do counseling and what should be the content of what is being done. Because a lot of the counseling models I've seen out there, they're so outdated, they can't produce the desired outcome for the two nations coming together to make a new nation.
You know, it's interesting, some of the things you just said. You said the two nations coming together, which is really apt because your first constitution is your family.
That's right.
And you said who is doing the counseling. Yeah. So you had talked about premarital counseling being for audit purposes, healing purposes, and
to build a family system.
Building a system.
Yes, because systems are predictable, emotions are not predictable. So a lot of people start their marriage hoping that they will turn out in a certain way. And sometimes they desire certain things, but they don't have the capacity to do it. So what I mean by system, you know, systems are very predictable. And, you know, because we don't have very healthy systems in Nigeria in almost all our sector, it reflects back to the marriage, because the marriage is the production center of the society. And if we're saying that the systems out there are not working, it's because the marriage isn't working. You know, so we have to go back to the marriage and begin to do massive parenting, marital education by professionals, because a lot of people are doing it, and they think, especially religious leaders think that once you're a religious leader, then you qualify to counsel, and that's not true. And because we're not regulated, I mean, as it were, the religious bodies are not regulated, and counseling and all of that is not regulated. A lot of people are using outdated, you know, stereotyped knowledge to counsel people whose personality types, whose history, whose behavioral patterns will not be able to make the dreams that they intend from the beginning. So much more than what are we going to do, is it necessary, I think also is good for whoever it is that wants to get married to ask themselves, so what kind of a marriage do I want to build? Now that question will now lead to, will it be necessary to have counseling to be able to build the kind of marriage that we both agree to build? Because some people feel like, okay, this is the kind of marriage we want to build, but we don't need counseling, and it's fine. They will meet their bottlenecks, they will meet their detours on the road. But the reality is, some of them don't even know why they should be married. Because sometimes when we walk into my office and I ask, so why do you want to be married? you find out that they both have totally different answer. Particularly, they said to me that, oh, they gave a prophecy that a man was going to come and, you know, take us out of poverty. I said, well, you don't need a husband, you need a philanthropist. Another man had come to say, oh, I mean, I'm looking forward to be able to marry someone that will be able to clean my house and cook for me. You don't need a wife. You just need a house help. Okay, so a lot of times there are belief clash, there are value clash, and they don't do, and in a lot of counseling, they don't do a beliefs alignment, they don't do a values alignment, they don't even do a values audit. So both parties have come as actors to come and act in a role that they don't have what it takes to make maybe the film director be satisfied with what they're doing. So because marriage is about scripting, is about, and you say a lot of the people that have gone ahead, you know, they garnish their drama and present it to singles like we're doing well in the name of jerseys and same color to outfits. I mean, the best of actors are not in Nollywood. They're in marriages. They're people who are acting up that things are fine. But yet they're troubled, they're not, you know, fine with their partner. And because of what society will say, they have chosen to just stay there in spite and despite their pain. Very unfortunate.
So you've said a lot, and I'm listening to you, and I'm like, all the questions that I was going to ask you, you've just already answered all of them. But let me take you back to a couple of things.
Okay.
Religious bodies.
Yeah.
From what I see, and I may be biased, I may be incorrect, a lot of the premarital counseling happens through churches.
Right.
I don't think that's a good thing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I've also been an advocate of telling religious bodies that the fact that you're a pastor doesn't mean you qualify to counsel. Because counseling, marriage counseling, requires certain skills. It requires certain scientific approach. For example, if we're going to build a family system, you must be able to have, you know, psychometric tests that will help you know what personality.
What's a psychometric test?
A psychometric test is a test that's been put together by experts where you answer questions that will help you elicit whatever it is it was designed to elicit. For example, I do a personality assessment where the wife will take, the husband will take. I do a beliefs assessment. The wife will take, the husband will take. And even by not even going beyond that, you find out that there's a lot of belief clash. You know, because husband and wife really don't clash. I mean, they don't really fight. It's their values that clash. It's a value clash. All of these irreconcilable differences are largely because beliefs are clashing, values are clashing, and expectations are not met. You know, so it's much more beyond the fact that churches should do it or religious leaders should do it, but to also be able to say that, can the religious leaders be humble enough to put the married counselors to certain training, 21st century compliant training that requires scientific methods, that requires different tools, that requires certain knowledge, unbiased, that requires not just the stereotypes. So there can be a one-size-fits-all for counseling because there are different personalities that are coming on the table. So if that is not being done, I can guarantee you that the outcome will not fulfill the purpose, because the purpose of courtship is not to get married. The purpose of courtship is for you to find out if the person you are in the marriage or who you are attempting to have a union with can make it into the next level. So if you break up during courtship, the courtship did not fail, because the purpose was not even for you to be married, it was to test. So when people don't get that right from the beginning, they begin to feel, oh, Mr. X broke my heart, brother. My Yoruba demon broke my you know, I know it's all about unguarded and unmet expectations. You know, so it's all about the fact that maybe National Assembly or somewhere, we need to begin to regulate certain things, from the counseling to the coaching to the therapist, because if there are no carrots to dangle, every Tom, Dick and Harry will say they're qualified to counsel. And that's why we're having more divorce cases. And because church is also not measuring, they're not even aware that what they are imputing into counseling is not giving the desired outcome. Because, you know, we don't value data in this part of the world. But from the people I see, I can tell you, there's nobody that I have been able to help facilitate divorce or separation who didn't say they didn't do counseling. 98% of them had gone through counseling. So the question is, why is it that even with all the counseling is ending out in a particular way? Okay,
so to buttress that question, my question is now, pre-marriage, you said courtship is not necessarily for the purpose of getting married. It's for testing whether you people
the
can
union
even
can work. So if you separate your ways in the process, the purpose has been met.
Okay.
And if you go ahead in the process, it also has been met. So what people expect is when we're in courtship, it should end marriage, not necessarily. So courtship doesn't fail when both of you did not make it work. Or
So
when
to
both
that
of you went
premarital counseling part,
Yeah.
a lot of the religious bodies, let me not religious bash. A lot of people who want to get married, it's at the point at which they become engaged.
Yeah.
That they now start premarital counseling.
Absolutely.
Shouldn't it really be a case of, you know what, I want to get married in the future, so maybe let me start premarital counseling, even as an individual on my own, to understand myself, and then maybe to even determine when I'm with the potential candidates, whether we're even compatible or not.
Very true. So one of the things I found out in the last, especially after COVID, was that I began to have clients who would say to me, I want to come for premarital. I'm not engaged yet. I'm not even dating. I just want to be able to get myself equipped and heal, deal with do an audit of my childhood. Because a lot of people whose parents traumatized them, they carry that trauma, and they become desperate. So because, the most powerful person on any any negotiation table is the person who is willing to walk away without a deal. When an average person comes on the negotiation table and they're like, no, it has to be Mr. X, or if you don't get him there, my life is finished, and all of that. So it comes back to very unclear expectations, because many people want the society to see them as being married, and they're not even dealt with their own history. They've not dealt with their own self-sabotaging pattern. They've not dealt with a number of things. So they come into the marriage, especially for women who didn't have a father figure. They come into the marriage and they're looking for their
who
father.
had a father figure who wasn't quite a father figure.
It wasn't quite, yes. So they had father figures who were either
absent,
physically present and emotionally distant, or totally absent. So that vacuum is there. So when they say, oh, I'm out of school, I want to get married, they're actually looking for their father in their fiancé. And that relationship is dead on arrival. So I help ladies find their self-sabotaging patterns so that they don't repeat that vicious circle. Because, everyone has told me, I've dated 4 people, why is it that it's always like this? There's a pattern that you have to unlearn, that you have to heal from, and now be able to bring yourself out. In fact, data has it globally that people who have gone for premarital counseling, they are more very likely to make their marriages work than people who hadn't done any premarital coaching or therapy.
At what stage should they have that
before
done?
They even decide to get into
marriage.
Serious.
Okay.
Get into marriage. In fact, maybe I'll say get into courtship, because I say to people, you can date as many people as possible. Dating is let's go out and get to know each other. In the midst of that, so for me, dating, you can be attracted to many people, you can be connected to few people, you can only be committed to one person. Right? So there's nothing wrong if I have 4 dates, but because of this part of the world, we mix the word courtship and dating together. So it looks like if I have 2-3 people that I'm going on a date with, I'm cheating, and that's not true. Okay? Because dating, there's no commitment. Dating is I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, but sometimes it doesn't go beyond attraction. So a lot of marriages work because people carry the emotional love, and they want to carry the weight of marriage on it. And emotional love cannot sustain marriage. It's agape love, unconditional love, that can sustain marriage, where it's not about my feelings. It's about the fact that I have gone through several processes, but I'm committed to you. So despite and in spite of what I meet there, I'm going to make it work. At some point when it becomes toxic, then we begin to look at, so where did it get it wrong? Was it that you overlooked some red flags, or you decided to allow intercourse to take place of interview? Because I always say that premarital sex, it will not make you get the person to get committed. Premarital sex begins to make the guy feel, so if you can sleep with me, so you can sleep with every other person. So trust is already broken. So but I always say that
I don't know if I agree with this.
Courtship time is interview time, not intercourse time. Because intercourse blurs your intuition. And even when you're seeing the red flag, your emotion is saying, I'm coming to you, I'm coming to you.
True. But you know what?
Yeah.
I will do sex on another day. But let's even go to the men.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of men seemingly are averse to counseling, let alone premarital counseling.
True.
You know, and then when the marriage begins to have issues, it now seems to be left to the woman to do a lot of the shifting to fix it. Why is that?
Okay, so we grew up. I mean, we're in a community or in a world where it's always looking like men. We hear things like men don't cry. Men should be the head of the family. So there are a lot of stereotypes that have allowed men to think that headship usually doesn't have a problem. So that mix and that conversation is one of the reasons why men think they don't need help. Then men also feel that being vulnerable is a weakness, and that's a big lie. A lot of times I always say to men that when you are vulnerable is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength, because seeking for help doesn't make you helpless. Seeking for help makes you smart, intelligent, and project you as someone who is willing to take in new knowledge to add to your old knowledge, and that's when we can say you are wise. Because there are several men who they carry their ignorance with arrogance. I call them confident, ignorant people. They don't even know. You know, when you know you are doing a vice, when you know you are deploying a vice, you begin to sit back. But a lot of them, they are even carrying out certain vices, and they're not even aware. So one of the first things is for massive education about men unlearning the fact that seeking help is ego, is an African thing. Because I have clients, I mean, across the world, and I found out that some Western people are more warm to counseling, coaching, and therapy than the African community. So
But that is changing, no?
Well, gradually, because by 90, my staff was still doing statistics since COVID. 92% of my clients have been women. The remaining 80%, when they pay for therapy, especially when it's marital distress, they usually pay so that I can rebuke their wife for them. So when they don't get that, they run away.
Wow.
You know, so I have to tweak in my code of engagement to let them know that the purpose of this is not to blame who did the deed, who was the doer of the good and who was the doer of the bad, is to help you, number one, get a deeper understanding of why there's a conflict. Number two, to help you know your role in the conflict. Number three, to help you unlearn whatever has been sabotaging the marriage.
So how do we then begin to create a holistic mindset shift for both the men and the women?
So primarily religious organizations need to jump on that because churches, mosques, they need to have meetings where this is being taught, because there is a very stereotyped knowledge about the fact that it's women usually that need help. Women are the weaker vessels, all of those narratives. But now it's been obvious that major marriages, the elephant in the room is oftentimes the man, because the woman is even willing to say, let me go seek help. Especially after separation, most times it's always a lot of work to get men to come on the table to say, okay, let's even do an analysis. Let's even say, okay, you are even biased about whoever is sitting in front of you. We have psychometric tests that can do a beliefs assessment, that can do a values assessment. And I mean, systems don't lie, tests don't lie. So when we see that your belief is that a man doesn't go to the kitchen, the wife believes that anybody who is hungry goes to the kitchen. Okay? You believe that a man should be in charge of everything in spite of the skills of the two parties in the marriage. The woman feels that let this, the better skilled person handle different things. Because sometimes we have men who are first world thinking men marry women who are third world. And you see, there would always be a clash of the two perspectives. When I say first world and third world, I mean maybe someone who is Western. In this home, we call each other by name. Here, you don't kneel down, you are disrespectful. Then they come together, then they begin to have belief clash. Then, some people feel, value, we need to give. I believe in giving. This other person feels, no, churches will take my money, so I don't want to give. So there are a lot of operating systems that they bring into the marriage. Then when conversations now begin to get there, it now becomes a clash, and it looks like, man, we need to go our different ways because our beliefs are clashing, our values are clashing, and it looks like it's a stalemate for us at the moment.
As usual, we've come to the end, but I want to ask one quick question.
Okay.
Where do we go from here in respect to, should premarital counseling be a must or not? And
yes,
at what stage?
Premarital counseling must be a must. Then people who want to do premarital counseling must go for the proper training and to be better equipped with tools, assessments.
That's the counselors.
The counselors need to go for training and they need to be certified. Even the pastors, the imams, they need to go for it, because being a religious leader doesn't qualify anyone to become a marriage counselor or or relationship counselor. It requires certain aptitude, it requires certain training, and it requires certain perspective, because if we don't do that, we will keep having a vicious circle where people who have gone for counseling are ending up in divorce.
Thank you so much, Tunji.
Pleasure's all mine.
I think we've tried to pack as much as we can, but this is a topic that we need to keep, it's like an onion. Yeah. We need to keep peeling the onion. There's
and we
so
need
many
more
layers.
people to jump on the advocacy for professionals to be the marriage counseling unit of religious bodies, because the data is not user-friendly.
Yeah. Next time we talk about this, I want us to look at sexual compatibility as it relates to premarital counseling, because I don't think they talk about that enough.
No. It's, the models I've seen, they're not thorough with them.
But that is one of the most important elements of a marriage, no?
Yeah, it's one of very, very important, because sex, money, and in-laws probably are the most three issues that make marriages space. So it's important to talk about it, but usually it's about 1.5 hours. How do you talk about what you do for a lifetime for 1.5 hours? So a lot of review has to be done, so that the approach will be holistic and the outcomes will be more promising.
Thank you so much, Tunji.
Pleasure to be
This
here.
has been awesome. Short as always, but it's been really good. So thank you.
Pleasure.
I really hope that we've been able to change mindsets and look at things from a different point of view, or different perspective. For the whole of May, I'm going to be looking at different topics related to love and marriage. And yes, I am going to be talking about sexual compatibility. So please stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you so much. No, I was going to say John, but John is not around right now. So Fumi, Helen, and I are going to very quickly round off the show. So please, just stay tuned for a few more minutes. Thank you.